Good morning, everybody. It looks like we're about ready to get rocking and rolling here on the session this morning. And we are very fortunate to have a special guest with us once again, Mr. Jim Banks. And Jim is going to be talking to us about some very interesting aspects of our business. Now, let me tell you why I asked Jim to come back and be with us today. You know, he was with us about a month ago, and first of all, we had technical difficulties, and he really didn't get his point across as well as I've seen him do it in the past. So, but we did have considerable interest in his program, which is wonderful. But I know that a lot of you missed some of the important. So here's the deal. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, Jim, except us, if you don't mind, just real quick here.
Pretend like you're in charge.
Yeah, you bet. 1 second. There we go. So, Andrew, you can go ahead and cook your coffee now. So here's the situation. I want to do just a brief presentation before we bring Jim on full bore here. What Jim does in the business is very unique. I mean, everyone knows about probate. Everyone has probably listened to some probate presentation on the internet. You've probably gone to probate seminars. It's nothing new. Probate is merely an area where somebody can go buy a house after somebody else died and doesn't want it anymore. Well, they might want it, but they don't need it anymore. And Jim is the master of that aspect of this industry. Now, here's the reason that Jim is so important to us. When someone acquires a property in probate, they're going to be an owner of that property. And number one, when they're an owner of the property, they're going to want to turn around and sell it. Well, when you sell that property, now you are in violation of the Dodd-Frank Act. You're an owner of the property and you're doing seller financing if you are seller financing. If you want to sell it on any sort of a creative basis. If you're going to just take the property and sell it, then your buyer goes out and gets a standard mortgage loan through some licensed mortgage broker or mortgage agent, and they come in and buy the property traditionally. So there isn't any problem with that. So if you're going to buy the property and flip it out to somebody, that's great. You don't need me. If you're going to buy the property and hold it and then do any sort of created seller assisted or owner carrying financing on that property, that's where we come in. And as you guys all know, because you're part of us, as you all know, the only way to do that, quote unquote, I'll put quotation marks around the only way to really do that and stay away from the Dodd-Frank violation is to put the property in a trust and sell personal property, which is the beneficial interest in the trust, rather than real estate. So by doing it that way, you're not mortgaging the property, you're not violating the lender's due on sale clause, you're not violating Dodd-Frank or any part of the SAFE Act, and you're clear and safe from that. So what we want to do is for those of you, and most of you on the phone right now are buy and holders, if you're going to buy and hold or buy an equity share or buy and lease option or any of that, you want to be able to do it through our systems. So Jim Banks and his program become an ideal adjunct to what we already do. And that's the people that we deal with. They're people whose programs and systems are complementary to what we do. We don't want to bring in people who talk about no money down, buying, and so forth, and all the traditional stuff. We want stuff that is unique and complementary to what we already do, and we're adding that. And Jim Banks' program is, and Jim Banks is a very nice gentleman. I have known him now for several months since our meeting in, I think it was in Albuquerque? No, Texas. Where's the Alamo? San Antonio. There we go.
And
And
we
he does a
also
great
met
job.
in
Yeah.
Los Angeles and Orange County.
And Los
before that.
Angeles and Orange County. And I think you were with us in Salt Lake City too, weren't you,
No,
Jim?
I was not.
No, okay. Yeah, that was Bill Bronchick. That was come to think of it. Now here's the deal. I'm going to introduce this guy to you, and I want you to pay real close attention to everything that he says and to his testimonials that he's going to be showing you and so forth. And be clear about the difference in Jim Banks' probate programs and the other stuff that you've seen and possibly even participated in. So, without any further ado, I'd like to then ask Mr. Banks to say all of his wonderful things. Jim, how are you this morning?
I'm a little early, but I'm doing fine.
Ah, good. Well, I'm going to back out of here and let you take over.
All right. Well, thank all of you for showing up for the webinar. Um, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be kind of like an infomercial. I've got some testimonials that I'm going to show as we go through this. So there's some video. I am here to talk about probate. And if you heard anybody else talk about probate, let me tell you, they stole it from me. We'll talk about that. Well, we'll talk about it right now. I created the system back in the 80s. And in case you don't know, copyright laws are absolutely worthless. We live in a country where less than 80% of judgments ever see $1. You've heard, I'm way off, this is off script. You've all heard that when two people sue each other, the only people that benefit are the lawyers, and that's 100% right. The reason being, less than 80% of judgments ever get $1. That's how the judicial system actually works. So you can't sue, you sue somebody, you've got less than a 1 in 5 chance of ever getting $1, so there's no point in suing them. Anyway, enough of that. I talk about probate. I'm the only national speaker on earth that talks on it. I've done it for over 30 years. I created the system. And I do need a small favor from you. If you would, if you got pencil and paper, I would like for you to write down this 800-409-3444. I'll repeat that since somebody's your bookie's calling. Your
Yeah.
bookie. Bet Florida, they're going to win. They're going to win. Again, 800-409-34444, extension 150. And this website, BG, B as in boy, G as in George, at landtrust.net.
Oh, he's
I
giving out Phil
appreciate
Canton's
that.
information.
Um,
All right.
we're going to
Okay.
commence
You ready
in a
to
matter
write
of
down the number
seconds
for this
here.
call? Yep. Okay. Area code 201. Yep. 479.
Like we can hear you talking on the phone.
4595. Yeah. And then
Well, we're starting off in left position here. Okay. Now we'll try it one more time. There we go. All right. Again, I'm Jim Banks. I'm here to talk about probate, absolutely the best way to buy real estate, bar none. Right now, for real estate investors, there's two problems. One is inventory, which I'll address immediately, and the other is making profit. Another issue that is easily solved.
1958.
What is this? What? Something is terribly wrong here. You're not going to believe this, Bill, but we're having problems again.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, Jim, go ahead and hit share desktop. See that if you go to Fuse Meeting, there's a box there that says share desktop.
Yeah, but that's not the problem I'm having, but that's okay. I can do that.
And we don't, and you need to there you go.
All right.
Connecting to Jim. That's it. Now we got your desktop.
All right.
We're doing great.
Well, here we go again. God bless America.
No, there's no, again, we're fine.
No, we're not, but maybe I can solve it with this.
Now, we're looking at your desktop right now, so just open your
I
program.
know. There's nothing I can do about it.
There you
What
go.
I'm having trouble is I can't Can't
Well,
seem to get the pointer
let's stay
back on.
cheerful and chipper, and let's get her done, by gum. Okay, just open the program and you'll be good. There you go.
Yeah, believe me, Hey, magic. God bless America. Look at this computer stuff is never going to catch on. Never. All right. Again, I'm here to talk about probate. Like I said before, I'm the only national speaker that speaks on it. I've done it for 30 years. There's no better way of buying real estate than probate. And if you do it correctly, you buy real estate that has never been exposed to the public. It's secret real estate. If you do it correctly, and I will show you how, if you do it correctly, the address is never in print. There is no exposure. Nobody else knows about it. How is the price going to go up? What is probate? Probate simply when someone passes away, the assets that are left have to be distributed. Hence, they have to be probated. It is no more complicated than that. Probate laws haven't changed for thousands of years. There's a handful of problems and the solutions are the same all over the world. Every year, never will change. Exposure is the enemy of the investor. If the address is in print, everybody who knows how to read is your competitor. If the address isn't in print, you have no competition because nobody knows it's for sale. That's what probate does if you do it correctly. Exposure is the enemy of the investor. It always has been, it always will be. If you want to buy something and make money, then have nobody else know about it. We'll go into greater detail on this. I created it, Jim Banks Probate. Unexposed assets.
In less than 2 years using Jim's system, I've been able to change personal net worth from about 200,000 to approximately 5 million. I've gone from at that point.
I'll repeat that, from 200,000 to 5 million in 2 years. These are FTC approved testimonials. Now I'll grant you, she's my best student, no question about it. That's still a nice jump.
And I've gone from having a bid in my 401k from the company that I used to work for, which basically was about 200,000 to about 5 million. If you have the desire to buy property and you follow his system step by step and ask the questions you need to ask, you will be successful. You'll be highly successful, and that success will not stop with one property. You'll be able to continue on and on and on. It's not just a lucky find. It will give you the knowledge base. It'll give you the tools so that you can continue doing it over and over. It is a proven system, and you can't go wrong. So even if you were a person, I believe, that was a little shy or lacked confidence, if you just stick to the program, you will succeed.
If it didn't work, I wouldn't have been around for over 30 years.
The system works, and it works for us because we've been in real estate now for 7 years and with no real estate background. So if it was not successful, we would be back to our corporate jobs.
And that would not be very fun.
How would you like to have $1 million? Of course, everybody'd like to have $1 million. But for people over 50, what does $1 million actually mean? It means cash flow because they're looking at retirement. Before the economic crash, people were getting 8 to 9% on their money. So $1 million was creating $80,000 to $90,000 a year income for retired people. Since the crash, it's down to about 5%. One of the hooks for rich people, how they're different from everybody else, is they never touch principal. So what $1 million means for somebody over 50 is income stream. How are you going to retire? According to Ben Stein, only 5 to 7% of the people who retire are going to have the same lifestyle they had before they retired. And unfortunately, that's a pretty good number. It's going to be very tough for baby boomers to retire. In 2005, the average family had $35,000 set aside for retirement. Today, it's under $10,000. For somebody that's going to live 20 to 30 years, how long is $10,000 going to last? It's going to take money. Article in the LA Times, millennial college grads won't retire until they're 73. And that's only if they do a good job on their finances for retirement. I said this over 30 years ago. It was true then, it's true today. Anybody can make $20,000 to $30,000 a deal in probate and turn 1 1/4. That is $80,000 to $120,000 a year, and that is more than 80%. I'm sorry, that's in the upper 20% of what people make. Like I said, it was true then, it's true today. Warren Buffett says wealth is made in spurts. Well, us who are in real estate, that is how we make our money. We either buy a property, improve it, turn it, or buy it, fix it up, rent it out, let it appreciate on its own. We make money in spurts. Contrary, a guy who gets a salary increase of $1,000 a month, the state, federal, local taxes, income tax, sales tax ends up chewing up over 50% of that $1,000, and the other goes to lifestyle. He's actually no better off than he was before he got the $1,000 a month. We make our money in spurts, and thank goodness for it. This you already know, so this is just a repeat. There are over 10,000 vacations in America. One of them has created over 70% of the millionaires. It did before the crash, during the crash, and after the crash. And of course, we all know what that is. It's real estate, and we're lucky enough to be in real estate. And the reason real estate is leverage, and I know all of you know this. Just a real quick example. You buy a $1 million house with a 10% down payment, which is $100,000. Property goes up 10%, so now you have a house worth $1.1 million. So you've made a $100,000 profit, you've doubled your investment, and you have a 100% return on investment. And I want to address this because this week Zillow came out where they did the year summary, and they're expecting prices to go up 3% this year. And it's probably fairly realistic. So you're not going to make your money buying a house and praying to God it goes up. You got to buy it right to make your money. How would you like to buy a house for 40% of its current market value? You're sure not going to do that with traditional ways of buying real estate. You're not going to buy it from a broker through the MLS. Every broker knows it's for sale and they share it with their clients. You're certainly not going to make it through foreclosure. You can push a button on the computer and get the list or read it in the newspaper. You go to a foreclosure sale, there's hundreds of people there. Nobody's going to make any money, and this also includes pre-foreclosure. Real estate owned. These are properties that were foreclosures that the foreclosure people didn't want. That's how the bank got it back. You can get a list of those anywhere. Real estate auctions, you see those on TV. There's 2,000 people in the audience and they're selling 100 houses. They not only don't go below market, they go for over retail. Tax sales, you go down to the county recorder's office, county assessor's office, they're happy to give you the book with all the properties that are for sale. Again, have you ever met anybody who couldn't read? If you can read, if anybody who can read competes with you on every one of these traditional ways of making money in real estate, and they don't work.
I've done foreclosures in the past. I've done no money down in the past. And what I can tell you is you give me foreclosure and probate to pick between or anything else in probate, and I'm going to pick probate.
I don't care to do foreclosures. Usually, if you're going to do that, you have to go to the courthouse, stand there with 85 other people, and try and buy this property, and you have to have cash in hand.
I have done some foreclosures. I mean, I bought REOs. I've bought them before the auction. I bought them at the auction. There's always a lot of competition. People get very ruthless about it.
Jim's system is a system, and the only one that I know of out there that gives you an opportunity to see a property before anybody else even knows that it's on the horizon for the opportunity.
The probate market has not even been tapped into like the foreclosure. Everybody is foreclosures. People are intimidated by probate because they don't know about probate and they don't know how simple it is to obtain probate properties.
You have very little competition because they're not easy to find unless you have a technique that shows you how to find them. His technique shows you that, and again, I hate to be redundant here, but you get out there and as often as not, you have no competition.
The system works no matter what area, what market. There will always be property turnover. There will always be an opportunity for you using the Jim Bank system.
What's in probate? Everything a human being owns or possesses goes through probate. And obviously, there's many more times personal property than real property. And you can buy it for pennies, pennies on the dollar. It has been my experience over 30 years, about 85% of probates have at least one piece of real estate in the estate. Here's the numbers. There are over 7 million probates every minute of your life. We're talking about inventory. There is no inventory problem in America. All you have to do is know something about probate. With 6 trillion, yes, with a T, of assets, this is in a bucket that never empties. Can you say wow? 7 million to choose from. Imagine when you were single, you go into a meeting place, a club, a church. There's 7 million people of the opposite sex and you. You think you might connect with a couple? And how many do you need? There's nothing better than probate. Last year, basically 2.5 million people died. We had nothing to do with it. The bucket never empties. For those of you who think foreclosure is such a good deal, let me tell you, in today's market, there are 38 times more probates than foreclosures, and more probates are happening every day because the baby boomers, unfortunately, are starting to pass away. Once a probate, always a probate. Now, I know that kind of sounds simple, but the point I'm making is on a foreclosure, there's 24 mortgage states. Every one of those has a judicial foreclosure. Obviously there's 26 trustee states. On the trustee states where there's a judicial foreclosure, the person being foreclosed on has 364 days to come back and retrieve the property. So you foreclose on my property, you fix it up, you make it real nice, and on day 364, I come back and say, hey, thanks for fixing up my property. That doesn't happen in a probate. In a probate, once you buy it, that's it. There is no redemption period. Probate works. The numbers are phenomenal. If probate didn't work, I wouldn't still be around here for 30 years. I've seen over 75 people talk on foreclosures over the last 30 years, and not one of them still around. Maybe it just doesn't work that well. Probate can change your life, and probate is the same all over the world. I have students in Canada, England, France, Australia, New Zealand, Germany. We had 2 people from Saudi Arabia come to my workshop. Probate is the same all over the world because there's only a handful of problems and the solutions are the same. They'll never change. This was aired on television. This is a personal property thing. I think you'll get a kick out of it.
In the town of Defiance, Ohio, near Toledo tonight, they are talking about what just might be the holy grail of baseball card discoveries of all time. Carl Kistner was cleaning out the attic of his aunt's house. She died in October. He found a cardboard box that had belonged to his grandfather. Inside, hundreds of perfectly preserved baseball cards from around 1910, including Ty Cobb, Cy Young, and yes, Honus Wagner. Experts have confirmed all the cards are real and could fetch up to $3 million at auction.
Could have been you. These are probate deals. They're all over the place. Another one on TV in Nevada just recently.
It's coming. Wait for it.
It was my fault. I pushed.
Quite a story here. A man in Carson City who died with just $200 in his bank account passed away, it turns out, in his own private version of Fort Knox. Months after Walter Samasco Jr. died, crews made a stunning discovery inside his home. Boxes full of gold bars and coins stashed all over the place. Brooke Boone has more.
This photo on his driver's license is the only picture we could find of 69-year-old Samasco Jr. He died in his home in June from heart problems, but his...
That's a $70,000 house. It'll
Wow.
be funny as it goes on.
body wasn't found until about a month later. Joe Baxter was the neighbor who called authorities.
He'd come out in the yard and wave once in a while, but that's as sociable as he got.
When the house was put up for sale, the realtor, who is a friend of Baxter's, asked if he wanted to come over and take a look at some of Samasco's belongings. But what he uncovered was beyond expectation.
Because we thought it was ammunition. Opened it up and it was rolls of $20 gold pieces. So I've never seen that much gold in my life or coins that old.
The realtor immediately called Carson City clerk and recorder Alan Glover.
Said you need to come over to the house right away.
Glover says in weight alone, the gold is worth at least $7 million.
The amount of it was what was overwhelming.
They had to use a wheelbarrow to move boxes and boxes of gold from the house. It's now being kept in a secure location. And gold was not the only thing left behind. Glover says Samasco had $200 in the bank, stock accounts worth $165,000, and $12,000 in cash at the house. And
he was a hoarder. He had cases of salmon, cases of tuna fish.
Glover says he had cases of ammo, guns, and conspiracy theory books as well.
It appears that he did not like government very much.
But despite all his assets, Samasco did not have a will.
Close relative is a first cousin in San Rafael, California.
According to Glover, after the IRS takes their share, the rest should be hers.
Told you. That's Brooke Boone reporting for us. That expert up there says it's not just the sheer weight, that some of those gold coins they found date back to the 1840s. So historical significance here. They were minted in Europe, Africa, and Mexico.
Which added another $300,000 to the value. But not the biggest probate deal I've ever been exposed to. This was a pearl. A 14-pound pearl in the shape of a football. It was made during the Ming Dynasty. They kept putting it in oysters, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They had a typhoon. It washed down the river. Eventually, a guy named Cobb bought it for a guy bought it out of the Cobb estate for $200,000. Christie's thought they were going to get $42 million for it. They didn't. They only got $25 million for it. And this is what it looked like. Again, another probate deal. Personal property. Now, this is if you remember American Graffiti, this is a 57 T-Bird, same car it was in the movie. I bought this for $7,500. Within 30 days on national TV, I turned down $30,000 for it. Another good opportunity in probate. Personal property. This is the old Wurlitzer machine, the bubble machine, 1015. You may remember it was on Happy Days and Cheers. And for those of you who watch Revenge on TV today, it's in the back of one of the bedrooms on Venge. But anyway, they quit making it in 1946. It runs on 78s, and of course the trick question has always been how many grooves are in a 78, and the answer is 1. Personal property in probate. Everything a human being owns goes through probate. So obviously there's jewelry, cars, antiques, stocks, bonds, stamps, coins, boats, planes, furniture, everything. Everything.
Antique furniture, artwork, coin collections, stamp collections, rare guns. And in that way, it's a lot of fun. It's very interesting and challenging. I bought Lalique vases, 10 cents on the dollar. It's kind of like an Indiana Jones, Sherlock Holmes thing, where you're out looking for the treasure.
Sometimes you get very lucky and the percent return can be immense. Sometimes 1, 2, 3,000% return.
And I think you throw up the garage and you see a 57 Corvette under a tarp in there. Yeah, that excites me.
On the first home that I purchased through the probate seminar, we sold the personal contents. There's probably $40,000 worth of personal contents in there that I wasn't even aware of.
Nice way to supplement your real estate investment with an extra $40,000 in personal property.
It ended up being a real bonus.
The house that we're at today is kind of a funny situation. The estate called and they said, we have a dining room set for sale and a bedroom set. And I said, I'll be there. I was there. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pass on the dining room set and the bedroom set, but is your house available? And I bought the house under market value. We're looking at about as far as the comparables that go today, a $230,000 to about a $250,000 tax-free gain.
And you have one problem with personal property, and that is you've got to remember what you made, because there's no audit trail on it, and the government wouldn't know that you made the money unless you put it on your tax return. So you do have the burden of remembering that.
Antique furniture, artwork, coin collections, stamp collections, rare guns. And in that way, it's a lot of fun. It's very interesting and challenging. I bought Lalique vases, 10 cents on the dollar. It's kind of like an Indiana Jones, Sherlock Holmes thing, where you're out looking for the treasure.
Sometimes you get very lucky, and the percent return can be immense. Sometimes 1, 2, 3,000% return.
And I think you throw up the garage and you see a 57 Corvette under a tarp in there. Yeah, that excites me.
On the first home that I purchased through the probate seminar, we sold the personal contents. There's probably $40,000 worth of personal contents in there that I wasn't even aware of. It ended up being a real bonus.
The house that we're at today is kind of a funny situation. The estate called and they said, we have a dining room set for sale and a bedroom set. And I said, I'll be there. I was there.
We acquired a 1965 Mustang, and that was really
Wow.
fun because we ultimately ended up selling it to my dad, who always wanted one. So that was really neat that we got to do that. And there's been all kinds of fun, personalities that have come with the property. His mom got an organ from one of the houses, a beautiful organ, and so it's neat. It's really neat.
Now, you may have seen Storage Wars, Antique Roadshows, Pawn Stars, American Pickers. Many of the items on those shows are in probate. But for those of you who have seen Storage Wars, I want to make a visual for you. As it goes, somebody wasn't able to make their storage payment, so the guy that owns it cuts off the lock, throws up the door, excuse me, and 20 people are there and they bid on the contents inside the storage device. They don't get to go in it, they don't get to touch it, but they get to look at it. It's kind of the old Cracker Jack box. They're looking for the prize in the Cracker Jack box. Anyway, they start the bidding goes up, somebody ends up with it, and they hope that they got the prize in the Cracker Jack box. Now, I want you to visualize, you go into a probate house. Everything in the house is for sale, but there's one tiny little exception. There's nobody behind you to bid up the price. So you're buying it for what you want to pay for it. That's why you're buying personal property at 7 cents on the dollar, and often for free because they just want it taken out of the house.
Wow.
In probate, there's no overbidding if you do it correctly, because you're there by yourself. Regarding real estate, you got there first. You get there before the antique dealers, the car dealers, the jewelry dealers, the stamp, the coin dealers, boats, planes, trains, furniture, and even stock and bond brokers. And yes, you get there before real estate brokers and real estate investors. The theme of my course is the early bird gets the worm, and I will get you there before anybody. This is how you buy real estate 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% below fair market value. I will show you a property and the check from it where I bought the land alone for 21% of its value, and the two-story structure on it was free.
In the county I live in South Florida, there are about 4,000 probates a year. That's about 12 to 14 a day.
He lives in a small county and there's 12 to 14 a day. Can you imagine bird dogging 12 to 14 properties a day, 7 days a week? Numbers are never an issue. There's nothing better than probate.
7 days a week, 365 days a year. Probates never end. They're always out there. There's millions of them out there across the United States.
Which is the better buy? The property on the left or the property on the right? Which one's the easiest to find the address of? And which one do you want to buy? Which one's going to make you the most profit? The one where the address isn't in print.
Is not in print.
Well, yes, you're right. Thank you, Bill. I'm too excited over here. The only legal way to buy real estate where the address is not in print is secret real estate, which is probate. It's unlisted, it's unpublished, it's not in print, it's not exposed, hence there's no competition.
If you know how to do it.
If you know how to do it. How can you help but buy real estate 30, 40, 50, 60% below fair market value consistently, not once in a while, consistently? Now, if you like competition, play sports. If you like making money, learn how to buy probate real estate. The best way to buy real estate, bar none, with over 7 million properties in a bucket that never empties. It never empties. As you know, the number of foreclosures are dropping drastically. Again, 38 times right this minute. It will be 44 in the next 18 months. More probates than foreclosures. About me. Graduated from Indiana University, went to graduate school, University of Southern California. I'm an active real estate broker. In fact, I've been a broker so long, I'm a broker for life. Got out of school, went in the computer industry when there was no money in it. Guy I worked with threw me into my first property, happened to be a probate. I made 2.5 times more on that property than I made a year working for NCR. Here's the arithmetic on it. I bought it for $30,000. Like all of us, when you start out, sweat equity, got my hands dirty, did all the painting and all the stuff that goes with it. Sold it for $95,000 and had a gross profit of $57,500, which was a lot more than I was making at NCR at that point in time. Now, this is a picture of that first property. And I know some of you are probably shocked that the house is so small because it's on a lot 50 by 50. And you say, my goodness, how did a house that small sell for $95,000? Well, it's real easy. It's in West LA, and this was 30 years ago. It sold for $95,000. Over half of all Americans live in a county that touches salt water. That's why the prices are higher along the ocean than anywhere else. Now, this is my next property. This is my second property. And yes, this is the after picture. I know because I painted this with my own hands. Apparently, I should have used a brush. But the point is that these are, a lot of them are small cottage types of houses. So be it. I still made virtually $74,000 on it. Needless to say, I quit my job with NCR. Nothing trumps experience. There may be somebody out there who has more experience than I do. Not sure, because I've got over 30 years of it, but I'm the only one who teaches it who has 30 years experience. I'm the one who can answer your question because I've done it and I know the answer. A long time ago, one of the reporters called me the father of probate. Well, that's fair since I invented the system. You buy a property for $85,000. The value of that property is $100,000. You turn around and sell it. You got a guy on TV that says, oh, man, this is a cakewalk. Yeah, we'll get to him in a second. I'm not picking on him because I don't know him. But the concept I'm arguing with. What's your profit on a property you buy for $85,000 that's worth $100,000?
About
Try
5,000
zero.
or less.
Zero. And this is the reason why. The cost of flipping a property is 15%, and I'm going to go in detail with this. 1, closing costs going in. You have escrow fees, which are closing fees, loan fees, points, appraisal fees. You have holding costs, the loan payments, the property tax, the insurance you pay while you own it, plus having security on it. We'll address that much later. Some fix-up costs, even if it's just painting it and sprucing up the yard. You have closing costs. Again, escrow fees, which are closing fees, transfer fees, miscellaneous fees, and you have sales costs, brokers' commissions, miscellaneous selling. The sum of those 5 elements in every city, county, and state and parish runs right at 15%. You do not make 1 penny of profit in real estate till you buy something at least 16% below market if you're flipping it. And nobody on TV tells you that. And how is this guy buying them enough below market that what he says is true? I'm not calling him a liar. I don't know him. I don't want to know him. But think about it. There's a real low percentage shot of that. Now, legitimate question. Why must you buy something at least 30% below fair market value? Because for hundreds of years, retailers learned that in order to make a profit and keep the doors open, they have to mark the goods up 100%. It's called a keystone markup. If they don't keep their doors open. We are business people. We expect to get 100% return on investment. That's why, and since our cost of making widgets is 15%, we have to buy at least 30% below fair market value to get the minimum return that we expect to get in real estate. And for any ladies that are there, and I hope there are, you'll see that about 40 to 50% of my testimonials are women. This isn't the old boys club. Now, there's 75 million homeowners in America. 24 million of them, there is no loan on the property. And obviously these turned out to be older people. Unfortunately, the ones that pass away. It's been my experience, about 35% of the time, the estate will carry back the loan, the mortgage. Many advantages for us, the investor. For those of you who like nothing down, and I'll address that earlier, I've never pushed it and never will, and I'll say why later. But 35% of the time, the estate carries back the loan, the mortgage. The advantages to you when this happens: no loan fees, no appraisal fees, no due on sales clauses, no acceleration clauses, and no credit check. And there is no title problem in probate. When we close on a probate property, we go through a formal closing. For any of you who've bought any number of foreclosures, it will happen to you that you do not have title. When I try to buy the property from you, you cannot convey clear title to me because you didn't get it. Foreclosures don't work that way. With probate, you will never have a title problem. Now, how do you finance probate? Any way you want to. Banks, savings and loans, selling this contract. You're going to see a lady here in a few seconds who never owned the property. She got the contract, she assigned it and made $6,000 and never owned the property. Partnerships, there's 1,000 different ways to have partnerships. I'll do all the work, you put up all the money, and you don't have to own real estate to to make money in real estate. You have to control it. A lease option does that. I'll exercise my option in the next 2 years to buy the property.
There's one thing missing there, John.
Pardon?
There's one thing missing there.
Go ahead.
The equity holding trust transfer.
Okay.
You may proceed, sir.
Thank you. The bottom three are ways people say to buy nothing down. I have never pushed nothing down, ever. The reason being, if you're buying $1 for 50 cents, by goodness, you should be able to come up with 10% for the remaining 50% and get a regular loan. Anyway, but there are ways of buying probate with nothing down. I address these three, and the estate carrying back the paper is a fourth. So for those of you who want to buy nothing down, obviously it's there. Now, my goal in real estate was always to be a builder, developer, because that's where the greatest amount of money is. I tied it in. I tied it into probate, and I'll show you some examples of it. This is a house, obviously it was in probate, Redondo Beach. The house on the left was the property I bought. You walked into it, you looked straight up 28 feet to the beam ceiling because there was no second floor. The heirs from Canada lived in that motor home and put an electric cord across the yard to the neighbors to get electricity so they could live in that till I closed. Now, how was I able to get this property? Obviously from what I've told you before. But here's how it works, especially in the beach areas where people want to live. A broker gets a listing on a property. They're supposed to turn it into multiple listing service. I'm a broker, so I go to the computer. It says the property at 1234 Beach Avenue is for sale. So I call the broker up and I say, is the property on Beach for sale? And she's telling me the truth. She says, no, it's already sold. And she's telling the truth because it was sold before she turned it into multiple listing service, which she wasn't supposed to do. But nobody's going to catch her and nobody's going to punish her. Because every broker works with 3 or 4 builders, she gets sold before she turns it in. I never have a chance to buy it. This is what probate does for me. I get there before the broker. I get the property because they never knew it was for sale. Now, obviously on the property, I gutted it. I put in a second floor, pulled the front of it out 9 feet, and this is what the house looked like when I finished. Everybody has a property they wish they had held on to. This is mine. I wish I'd held on to that one. We all make mistakes. I made tens of thousands of them. But nevertheless, I was still lucky enough to make $373,000 plus on the property. Newport Beach. House on the left, nice little house, nothing wrong with it. But in the beach area, and many of you have heard this before, highest and best use. Everybody wants to maximize the square foot or square feet in a property down in the beach area. I bought this property for about 80% of the land value, which helped because I bulldozed down the house. I had no use for the house whatsoever. As you can tell, I went ahead and put a brand new house on it. 4,500 square feet. Again, made a few mistakes. There's always a learning curve. Only made $287,000 on that one. Now, on the picture on the left, you can see there's a vacant lot there. The guy who owned it loved it, would not sell it, just would not sell it. Well, unfortunately, he passed away, and his kids didn't love the lot as much as he did. They had no problem selling it because they wanted their free money. As you can see on the right, we built the property. This is the front of the property. Now, if you look at the two pictures in the diagonal, that's the Pacific Ocean. The one on the left is a channel, and over there to the right is the Pacific Ocean. As you go out the Newport Beach Channel, you count 17 houses back, and that is this house. It was on the front cover of the Orange County Register, which is the newspaper in Newport Beach, on their real estate edition. Oh, sold that property for $6.1 million. Now, this one is a tremendous property. As you can tell, it looks like a beat up piece of property, and it is. This is the back of it. You can see it's old, dilapidated. Here's the picture from the right of that. It's in a place called Dana Point. The street down below is El Camino Real. The lot starts at 160 feet above sea level. To the right is Dana Point Harbor. Where the sun is island of Catalina. And just to the left, on a clear day, you can see 55 miles away, you can see San Clemente Island. The left side from that view is as far as the eye can see. If you could see San Diego. Bought that for $2.1 million. 30 days after I bought it, a broker offered $3 million cash. The goal was to obviously tear it down and build a $4.5 million home. Should have made the $900,000 profit. Got caught with the crash, thanks to all those wonderful people at the manufacturers banks in Wall Street. Anyway, but that was the opportunity on that house in 30 days to make $900,000. Wills. Now, it's believed that a will avoids probate. A will does not avoid probate. A will initiates probate. When one dies without a will, they're said to die intestate. When they die with a will, they're said to die testate. A few years back, I'm looking at a property in Venice, California. That's the one on TV where they show all the people entertaining down on the beach. Anyway, lady next door was watering her yard. She and I start talking. Real nice lady. Had a key to the probate house. We went into the probate house so I could see the condition of the inside of it. Go out. I start to go to the car. She says, "Oh, Jim, by the way, the lady that lived here, she died interstate." Now, I don't think she died on Freeway 405, San Diego Freeway, but I think I know what she meant to say.
Maybe intestate.
For those of you who think that's funny, feel free to laugh.
They're all muted. They're laughing like crazy, Jim.
A will does not avoid probate. That's the point. It's a great misconception. It does not. It initiates probate. A living trust avoids probate. Next question you might have is, does living trust affect the number of probates we have? And obviously the answer is no to begin with. I already told you there's a bucket with $7 million in it that never empties. But the other reason is, I gave a lecture in Houston, after the end of the lecture, a guy comes up to me. He says, you know, you were right. Well, I talked for an hour and a half. So I said, about what? He says, on the 10th of every month, I put all my new acquisitions in my living trust. And I couldn't help myself. I said, well, I hope you don't die on the 9th. The point is anything that requires a signature that is not in that trust causes the probate. Because you can't dig the guy up, shoot him full of adrenaline, and get him to sign off. So it has to go through probate. So because of the probate, yes, we may buy the assets out of the living trust because the guy that heads up the probate is going to be the guy that heads up the living trust. So living trusts have zero effect on the number of probates. Your Aunt Elma dies. The largest asset, almost without exception, is the house. How are you going to distribute the house? Cut it in half with a buzzsaw? Of course not. The only thing you can divide are dollars. They have expenses, continuing expenses on the property, and if not on the property, certainly through the judicial system. They have to sell the house. There is no option. You're all in real estate. You talk about a motivated seller. There's nothing more motivated than somebody who wants their free, unearned money. These guys want to sell, and we're going to be the first one there to help them sell their property. We are the good guys. It has been my experience that over 30 years that about 12 to 15% of the properties in probate are fixer-upper types of properties, which is how I started. Hands-on, fixer-uppers, sweat equity, call it what you want. So for those of you who like fixer-uppers, good news. At least 12 to 15% are fixer-upper type of properties. Now, for those of you who have never seen what a fixer-upper looks like, I brought a picture today so we can all relate to what a fixer looks like.
You're the one who fixed that up.
And even though this property hadn't been fixed up, it already has a positive cash flow. They have tours every hour on the hour there in downtown Rome. Now, tell a quick story. Doctor has a cocktail party Saturday night about 8 o'clock. 10 o'clock that morning, all the plumbing plugs up. So he gets on the phone, he calls a plumber. Plumber comes out, has everything working in about 15 minutes, hands a bill to the doctor for $900. The doctor looks at it and says, $900? You were only here for 15 minutes. He said, that's a rate of $1,200 an hour. He says, I'm a doctor and I don't make $1,200 an hour. Plumber said, you know, I didn't either when I was practicing medicine.
Now remember, everybody's muted, so you can't hear the tumultuous laughter that's going on right now.
I'm going to say this, and I shouldn't. For those of you who have never done a webinar, let me tell you, standing in a room and talking to a machine is tougher than you can imagine. I'd much rather have a live audience. Anyway, God bless you for sticking with us. Again, through probate, anybody, anywhere in America can make $20,000 to $30,000 a deal. And I said that over 30 years ago, and of course the dollar's worth a lot less now than it was 30 years ago. That's generating a profit of $80,000 to $120,000 a year. That puts you in the upper 20% of income. Like I said, it was true 30 years ago, and it's certainly true today. There's no better way on earth of buying real estate than probate. This is my favorite.
This next one is the one that I am the most proud of. Jeannie Thomas from San Antonio, Texas. In fact, we have her on videotape.
I was young once.
It took Jeannie 60 days to get her first property. In fact, what I really like to do is let Jeannie tell her own story.
My name is Jeannie Thomas, and I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I've been doing Jim Banks' probate program for about 3 months now, and I just recently had my first success. I bought a property for about $14,000 under value, and it's a very good buy. I'm 20 years old. I'm a real estate law major at San Antonio College. The best part of Jim Banks' program is that it's rewarding mainly to work with these people. That's why I like it. I work with the probate because I've always had a complex where I like to help people, and this is a way I could institute it into my real estate career.
God bless her. If a 20-year-old, while going to college full-time, can pick up $14,000 a deal 25 years ago, my goodness, think what you can do with real-life experience.
So the very first call that I made, even before completing the system, was my very first deal. I was able to make $6,000.
By the first property, we were able to make $30,000 by using Jim's system.
first deal with Jim's system, I made $48,000 in about 6 months' time.
On the Jim Banks system with the very first deal, I made $180,000.
It's not a bad way to start on your first deal. Now, here's for you the $64,000 question you're asking me, and I would too. Why in the world would somebody sell something 30, 40, 50, 60% or more below fair market value? Excellent question. Let's examine what's actually happening here. All of a sudden, somebody finds they have nuggets of gold in their hand. Do they jump to the phone, call Zurich, London, New York to find out the price of gold? No. These aren't Donald Trumps. These aren't investors. These are people who got something for nothing. They did not earn it. It's free money. 70% of lottery winners are flat broke within 3 years, and all the lotteries are in the mega millions. Insurance industry says the beneficiary of a life insurance policy squanders every penny within 3.5 years. People do not respect unearned money. It's human nature. It will never change. It's one of the reasons the welfare system was never going to work, never did work. So what difference does it make if we give the guy $150,000 or $100,000? He's going to squander every penny of it in the next 90 days.
People who represent the estate, I find that they're oftentimes extremely burdened. The work is thankless. They oftentimes have heirs that are demanding money, wanting their share. They want to get it done. We're the heroes. We're the ones that are coming along and solving the problems. And when you give money to people, you're never a bad guy.
God, where did you come from? In so many words are saying, you know, you're like their knight in shining armor.
If you do a few deals, that will happen to you, as unbelievable as it is. Thank you. We had no idea what we were going to do with the property. We wear the white hats. We are the good guys. The average probate takes 2.5 to 3.5 years to settle. Continuing costs, if there's a mortgage on it, insurances, all kinds of liabilities. And unfortunately, in today's world, an empty house often gets vandalized. If the hazard insurance, your fire, theft, so on and so forth, if the insurance company can prove that that property was vacant for 32 days and that property burns to the ground, there is no insurance on it. It is gone. We bring a lot to the table here when we buy the property. Article, not too untypical. After 7 years, it's time to settle mom's estate. Gee, you think? It was less than $200,000. So why did it keep going? I bet you got the answer to this one. So the attorney could keep billing the estate. There is no oversight. It's like a government program. There is no oversight whatsoever on probate. It is the slush fund to the judicial system. Judges don't go and look at them. We are the good guys. I know I've been talking to you primarily at hitting your greed button. We're going to change hats for a while. We are the good guys. We help settle estates. We cut down the cost in money and time. We bring cash to the estate so they can settle. We bring emotional and financial closure. And we stop the overbilling abuse from attorneys because we help settle it. Ralph Nader said that 99% of all probates could and should be settled within 6 months. They're not, but we can help get to that point. And when we buy the property, there are no broker commissions. And only attorneys are hated more by the public than real estate brokers.
The person wanting to sell it was wants to sell it very quickly, very interested in selling it. So it just was a win-win for both of us. You do get a sense of feeling that you're helping the person by moving the property along for them.
Probate offers a way to buy, and everybody comes out a winner on that one if it's done properly.
Some people who died. Elvis lost 72.5% of his estate. FDR 30%, Ricky Nelson 31%. The irony of Ricky Nelson's was it took 11 years and it was less than $750,000. We don't need to talk about why that was. W.C. Fields 37%, and J.D. Rockefeller, one of the most powerful industrialists in the history of this country, lost 64% of his estate because he died. Now, legitimately, you may say, well, these are famous probates. What does this have to do with me? And your point's 100% valid. The bottom one, a couple of students found this one, very typical, $200,000 estate. They're all over the place. The attorney and the CPA alone cost that estate $90,000. 45% of the estate right off the top. We can stop or slow down this abuse. We are the good guys. Federal judge, Alabama, awards $2 million to 19 attorneys. Well, I would hope so. My God, they got a $1 judgment in the gasoline price fixing case. Know why there's class action suits? So attorneys make money. They're the only person that gets paid cash on it. Everybody else gets a note or a certificate.
Jim's system, the very first deal I did, there will be $100,000 profit to me in a very short period of time with very little work.
Using the system, on our first probate house, we made over $16,000 in 30 days. And on our second house, we made $55,000 with one real hard day's work.
He's being sarcastic there. That's a smirk on his face, and people don't see. He's making a joke. He made $55,000 in one day. It's a joke. It's supposed to get a laugh, but it never does.
And we think that's pretty cool.
Using Jim's system, we found a property and closed on it within 30 days. And we will make between $16,000 and $18,000.
In less than a year using Jim's techniques, the potential on the two properties will be $300,000 in profit. And that's exciting. That's exciting because this is just the beginning.
Which is the better deal? When the address is in print or when the address is not in print? Property A or property B?
I'll take B.
That's right, because it's the probate deal. It's the only way you can buy real estate where the address isn't in print. It's the best way to buy real estate, period. Period. Anybody can do this. Anybody. From a 20-year-old college student going to school full-time to retired people. It doesn't have to be full-time. I've never told anybody to leave their 9-to-5 job and start doing this. Ever. Never would, never have. Do a couple. Once you convince yourself you can do it, then you can do it. We all suffer from that. When we tell we can't do something, self-fulfilling prophecy, we don't. And it's true on the other side. Anybody can do this. If probate was difficult, attorneys couldn't do it.
To take someone who has never done any real estate before and that goes through the Jim Bank system with the idea in mind that they're going to work that system, they're going to make money, and that's a guarantee. I'm living proof of it.
If you follow his plan and don't try to reinvent it, it works. It just works, pure and simple.
With the Jim system, you can go out there and you can work 8 to 10 hours on one deal and make $20,000, $30,000.
If you want to make $1 million a year and you want to work really hard, you can. If you want to just add another $20,000, $30,000 to your, for a vacation or to buy a new car, you can do that.
I don't think there's any way that anybody can lose doing this. If they follow the program the way it's written, the way it's taught, it's like a guarantee that you're going to make money. Better money than you've made doing anything else, I would say.
I don't think you need a real estate background of any kind. I mean, it's all explained to you on how to do it and how to do it right.
It's out there for anybody who wants to do it. You just need to apply yourself. It's not brain surgery. Anybody can do it. If we can do it, anybody can do it. We're hungry. We just wanted more out of our life. And that's why we chose to do this.
One deal can be a year's salary. End of sentence. Probate works where people die. Now, if you live in an area where people don't die, probate's not for you. Go to something else.
Going into the probate workshop, I had the objective of finding a new way or a different way of providing a lifestyle for my family and I. What we didn't want to ever have to do was be afraid that our income would go away.
My course covers everything you need to know about probate. Everything. We'll go through the detail here real quick. Obviously, all of these will be there, plus every step-by-step piece of information you need. Obviously, how to start, how to find the probates, method of buying, real and personal, how, when to sell, how to do the research, how to determine fair market value, methods to determine if you should or should not buy the property, and what you should or should not improve. My system will get you there before the real estate brokers, real estate investors, antique dealers, art dealers, coin dealers, stamp dealers, car dealers, everybody. eBay says they have over 2 million buyers. When I started out, the personal property we took to the dump. We just got a big, and who knew people were going to save teacups? That wasn't a world that I started with. But obviously now there's a way to make secondary money even on the personal property.
Well, the bank's program has opened my eyes to so many different opportunities.
Not only was it helpful from an information standpoint, but it also gave us a tremendous boost of confidence to know that we were on the right track.
This is a way to get you doing something that everybody else is unaware of.
It met my expectations. I expected to learn how to identify property that nobody else knew was for sale.
I definitely think that it's something, that people should check out. If the market goes haywire and everybody's out of work, I still can find a way to make money.
I use what I learned in the J.G. Banks workshop every day in my business. It's enhanced the career I already had tremendously. Close to maybe between $175,000 and $200,000 that I would not have had I not taken the course. I wish all my education would return that kind of investment.
Again, 7 million probates in a bucket that never empties. And every probate has personal property.
Best money I've spent in a long time.
Most definitely. I think it's been, a pretty exciting thing to learn about.
If you get into it and you really start focusing, you might be able to find something for yourself, and there's land available. I mean, there's so many different avenues that this will take you.
What it's been worth to me, it's hard to distinguish. I mean, it's in the same way that my college education was worth, $30,000-$40,000 in 4 years of my life. This weekend seminar has given me a career that superseded my education.
I felt that the cost of the seminar was worth it because the way I look at it, I'm going to make well over that amount. And I would recommend it to everyone.
I made almost $16,000 in 15 days. Part of any good education is not only what you should do, but what you shouldn't do. And it's important to follow the program they give you. They've made all the mistakes. I wouldn't do this because this is what happened to me.
I am not selling the $6,000 workshop. I don't do workshops anymore. But the information from that workshop is in this home study course. 4 tool books, CDs that accompany all of them. It covers everything you need to know, from every form you're going to use, the scripts on talking to the estate, the terms, plus 2 bonuses, how to work personal property correctly and how they made their money. And it covers everything we covered in the workshop. The same guarantee I made 30 years ago I make today. If you will do 3 deals, at least one of which is real estate, and you don't make all your money back, I will make up the difference. And every kind of real estate is in probate. Commercial, industrial, raw land, agricultural land, apartment buildings, condos, and certainly homes.
That's the huge part right there, is being able to call up anytime you want to and ask a question, get an answer right there on the spot.
Cell phone, they were right there.
When I called and there was actually somebody at the end of the phone and they were actually working with me, that to me was really invaluable. I would say that was a huge confidence booster.
For the next 90 days, for those of you who want to start making money in real estate, which means probate, you will talk to me personally. I will help you in the next 90 days go through the course. I will answer any and all of your questions. Probate is a business. Again, full-time, part-time, and your kids can work the personal property and make money. They can't legally work now till they're 16, so it helps them make money.
This is something that it's trying to set up almost like a dynasty as far as for our children, and you know, something that our kids could one day work with us and do.
The fact we fit together so well as a team, I guess, confirms that the family has some ties that are important to all of us.
There's a lot of work involved, but it's all...
The numbers are phenomenal. You can't fail unless you don't try.
There's a lot of work involved, but it's something I found very enjoyable.
The workshop will work if the person wants to work. If they're looking for tools that make sense to work with in a very straightforward, simplistic way, then the workshop's a winner.
I know. You know, each project is exciting in its own way. It's a lot of fun what we do.
It's kind of like bargain shopping, which appeals to a lot of women.
After probate, there is no more secret ways of making money in real estate. Nothing else is going to come down the pipe. This is the last hurrah. I hope you get involved in the last frontier. This works, obviously, or I wouldn't have been around for 30 years. Again, not only are the testimonials Federal Trade Commission approved, so is the course. And nobody has ever said that to you on any kind of real estate investment. Don't let probate pass you by.
Using Jim's system, our first 3 deals we put together with no money down, absolutely no risk to ourselves. We were able to make a profit of about $60,000 with absolutely no risk whatsoever.
From the information that I got from Jim Banks, I purchased a property for $5,000 and sold it for $155,000.
With Jim's techniques, within the first year, we made an additional $160,000 to $170,000. This will be our retirement.
Definitely.
It's something that we can do when we retire, and it'll also help us ease into retirement.
With Jim's system, we've tripled our net worth within the last 3 to 5 years.
If I haven't convinced you that probate's the best way to make money in real estate, I have failed you, because there is nothing better than probate real estate if you do it correctly.
In less than 2 years using Jim's system, I've been able to change personal net worth from about $200,000 to approximately $5 million. I've gone from having a bid in my 401k from the company that I used to work for, which basically was about $200,000, to about $5 million.
How are you going to make $30,000, $60,000, $100,000, $120,000 a deal if the address is in print? You're certainly not going to do it through foreclosure. How are you going to buy a $300,000 house for $200,000 if the address is in print? How are you going to buy a $500,000 house for $300,000 if the address is in print? You're not going to. Probate's it. And like probate, I'm giving you thanks to Bill, I'm giving you a 47% discount. It's like buying probate for the next 24 hours. For those of you who are interested in getting involved in probate. The same course that sells for $14.95, you can go to my website. That's it, locked in. Today, next 24 hours, $7.95. Nothing trumps experience. I've got over 30 years of probate experience. I've been around for 30 years on the national circuit because it works. It worked then, it worked now, it'll work tomorrow. It is secret real estate. If you do it correctly, it's not in print. I know I've been more like a Dutch uncle than a warm, fuzzy friend, but it works. Anyway, again, if you will, the phone number is 800-409-3444, extension 150, or website or web address, B as in boy, G as in George, bg@landtrust.net.
That's the email address, Jim. Not the
Sorry,
website.
this computer stuff is never going to catch on. I'm not going to learn it.
The website is landtrust.net and the email is bg@landtrust.net.
All right.
No problem.
Anyway, I certainly want to thank all of you for coming in, putting up with my nonsense for the last hour and 15 minutes. Obviously, it works. Obviously, there's no better way on earth to make money in real estate legally. And thank you for putting up with me. Best of luck to you, and Happy New Year to you.
Absolutely, Jim. Thank you very much. One thing I wanted to do, guys, before Jim gets away, in case you have any questions or anything like that, now it's the time. But before we get to the Q&A session portion of this, I want to mention that Jim and I,
I'm not a Gemini, I'm an Aries.
There you go. So I don't mean Jim and I mean I and Jim. I'd like to make sure that you understand this. When Jim talks about no money down and not being an advocate of no money down and so forth, I understand exactly where he's coming from. However, I also know that there are a lot of people on the line right now. We got about 150 or so people on the line.
God bless all of them.
Yeah, and God bless everybody. But here's the thing. There's a bunch of folks on the line, Jim, that don't have any money. In other words, if I wanted to buy $1 million house and I could get it for $500,000 and I had to come up with $100,000 down payment, I couldn't do that today myself. I don't have $100,000 in the bank. But what I can do is, like Jim said, I can get a partner who's got $100,000 as long as they know what we're doing and we're buying a property in probate and we're going to make money really, really quick. Another thing I can do is talk to the estate and see if the estate can leave the existing financing in place for a while and let me come in and maybe sell the contract to somebody else, whatever. But there are a ton of ways to do everything. The one thing, Jim, that we, as members of the network, concentrate on is, first of all, not necessarily no money down, but getting a property without having to take a lot of risk and without having to spend a lot of money or any money if possible. Now, I've purchased personally at least 150 properties without a penny out of pocket. I've never had a property where I was on the loan. I've never had a property where I had to make a down payment. I've never had a property where I had to qualify for a loan. I've found people who needed to get rid of their houses, whether they were in probate or not. I've done only one probate deal, and we made about $300,000 on it about, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. But I still didn't learn anything about probate other than it takes one hell of a long time to get the thing over with and that the attorneys make more money than I did. But what I want everybody to understand is this is a vehicle, a wonderful, tremendous vehicle for doing what we already do. In other words, if you can go in and you find a property that you can get for 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and you don't have the wherewithal to know how to do it, between Jim and myself, we'll do it with you, for you, we'll show you how to do it. I've got tons of investors that I can call on with anywhere from $15,000 to $100,000 that would be happy to come in, put the property in a trust and partner with you in a trust, or not. If you're going to flip it in a hurry, it's like I always say, you don't need a parachute to jump off a curb, so you don't have to use a title holding land trust transfer system if you're going to pick it up today and sell it tomorrow. So understand that with Jim's program and the knowledge of what we do, you are truly in the driver's seat. You know, I always say that you're in a catbird position. Well, that I don't know what a catbird is, to tell you the truth, but I know that they're in a good position. But the thing is, guys, understand this. Here's what you do. You can come in, and if you're looking at your screen right now, you can see that I've got a couple things up there. If you're going to do an equity share, all you do is put a property in a land trust, and each beneficiary shares 50-50. If you're going to do a wraparound mortgage, you put a property in the land trust, and the person coming in as a buyer takes a 90% interest today, you keep it 10%, give your 10% to the buyer at the end of the agreement. Contract for deed, just do exactly the same thing in reverse with the same kind of land trust. And a tax lease, if you want to pick up one of these properties and hold it and not have to sell it at any particular time, you bring somebody into it and let them live in it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. And you can, with our system, give that tenant who's only leasing ordinarily, give them 100% of the income tax write-off. So understand that.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh,
Yeah, you're not.
You weren't seeing my screen, were you?
No.
Well, how about now?
Yes.
Okay. So now you maybe have an idea what I'm talking about. Here's the equity share 50-50, two beneficiaries in the same trust, each of them sharing equally, wrap around, one of them gets 100% of the profit at the end. On a contract for deed, they start off with 10% and end up with 100% at the end. A tax lease, they start off with nothing and end up with nothing other than income tax write-off throughout the term. And when there's 3 parties involved, that yellow circle down there, that's you. So you've got the property, you start off, you pick up the property from the seller and do an equity share with your resident co-beneficiary. If you want to do it like a wraparound mortgage, same thing. The seller gives you the property, you then put a party in for 90% interest, you keep 10 until the end, and at the end the party gets 100% of all the profit after they've paid you back any equity that you started with. So what I'm trying to say here, and you can see how this works with land trust and the lease, the tax lease, you can use this as a alternative to the lease option and so forth. You don't need to do a lease option. The lease option violates a due on sale clause. A lease option violates Dodd-Frank, SAFE Act, and everything else. So with what Jim's got to offer, guys, please take a close look at putting this in your armamentarium. You know, I can tell you that from what little bit I know about probate, having gone through it, what Jim's talking about is something that you don't get anywhere else. If somebody had told me about that about what Jim does, in the first or only probate transaction that I've done, I would have done another one a week later and another one 2 months later and so on, and I'd be a whole lot wealthier than I am today, even though I'm not hurting today. Now, here's an interesting thing. Jim and I had a conversation. We had lunch about 2 weeks ago. I made a proposal to Jim. I said, Jim, with all of your knowledge and all of my knowledge, maybe we could do something together in the Las Vegas areas, because I've got, I don't know, 150 investors in Las Vegas that like to jump in with us and so on. And Jim said, no, I'm really not interested in that, because in Las Vegas, the property values are low. A lot of people dying here, but the property values are low, and you're only going to make $20,000, $30,000 a deal. And I looked at him kind of funny, and I couldn't quite figure out, hey, give me $30,000. I'd be happy as a clam. But what Jim says is he wants to go back and do these kinds of things where the properties are near saltwater. Because instead of 20,000 or 10 or 15, which would be wonderful, and you do 10 of those a year, you'd be making pretty good money. He wants to do where you can make 300,000 a year. He's not interested if he can't make $200,000 or $300,000 on a deal. Well, that got me thinking, and that's when I decided that Jim has to be Jim's product and systems have to be a part of what we do. So anyway, that's it. So I'll dump this and get back to where we were. So you can see both of our beautiful smiling faces here. Yeah. And guys, understand this. I'd like to tell you that I don't have anything to sell you, and I don't. If you want to be a part of what we do, we've only got a couple things that you'd have to pay money for. If you want to be a part of our national network of real estate investors who concentrate on the aspect of creative real estate that involves no money down, no credit qualifying, no credit application, no new bank loan, well, we can do that 1,000 different ways. If you want to get involved with something having to do with probate, you've got a couple guys looking at you right now who can put some money in your pocket. Now, with our system, I'm not going to advertise it today, but so you know, it's a little over $2,000 to become a national member. But we also give you the opportunity not only to sell what we do and sell our systems and our books and tapes and courses and lectures and seminars and everything else, but you also are in a position to be selling Jim's program. Now, we don't expect you to go out and do the kind of presentation that Jim just did, but we have Jim to help you. If you have a client, you bring the client to me, I bring the client to Jim. Glenn will take care of that. He'll make his money on it. He will give us a portion of whatever is available to us. And if he's charging $1,500 or $1,700, we'll make a few $100s and we'll give you half of it because you were one of our marketing affiliates. So I think today was probably one of the singularly maybe even one of the singularly the best opportunity offer that many of you have had in a while. So give it a lot of thought. And in the meantime, I want to thank Mr. Banks for his presence. I want to thank you, Jim, for that smile. I don't see you smile nearly often enough. And I want to thank you for teaching me everything you have so far. And guys, we'll see you all next Saturday and at same time, same place. And if you are one of our marketing affiliates, that's just, if you're already a member, it's $49 a month to be able to market our stuff. The meeting is Thursday evening, 5 o'clock California time, and you guys already know that. So, anything else to add? Let me see if we got any questions for you, Jim. I've got Tina. Says, how can we get probate property 30 cents below market? Do probates have to go through probate court? Well, I just answered the last part of that question because the first part you've already answered.
Yeah, the first half I just talked about for an hour and 15 minutes.
That's right.
Yes, it has to go through probate, otherwise it wouldn't be probated.
Okay, the next question. You've been in the probate business for 30 years or so. This is great achievement. Do you have any current testimonials to share? Well, I know that a couple of them were current. Go ahead, Jim.
Yes, in fact, most of those are relatively current. We have a couple of new ones that have not been added to the video because I've just started lecturing again, and I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to lecture. I did this as a favor to Bill. We do have one funny story I want to share. A guy in California called me, and he said, "Jim, I've got a property, but the attorney doesn't know anything about probate, and they're going to muff it up." And I said, oh, and he gave me the detail, and there's no point going into the detail. I said, "Do you have a friend who's an attorney?" First of all, I said, "Well, give me the attorney's phone number, and I'll talk to him." Well, not being an attorney, even though I went to law school, I'm not an attorney. They wouldn't talk to me because I'm not an attorney. So I called him back and I says, "Do you have a friend who's an attorney?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Is it a close friend?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Call him and tell him you need him right now because this lady has no idea what she's doing, and the two deals that you already have a signed contract on, they are going to kill. So have him call me. I'll tell him what he needs to know." Anyway, I'll make it extremely short. They did get to the attorney before she messed it up drastically because she had no idea what she was doing, the attorney of record. Anyway, he ended up making $170,000 on the two deals. And
Wow.
that was brand new.
That's
Because
more
one of
than
the great myths is that attorneys know everything about law. Law is as specialized as medicine. Your kid falls out of a tree, breaks an arm. Your next door neighbor is a heart surgeon. Do you take him next door for the heart surgeon to set his arm? Of course not. And the law is just as specialized. But thanks to television and movies, people don't realize that. Anyway, that was a good. It was anyway. That was kind of a fun
I'll
story
tell
for
you
me
a little
personally.
quick story, Jim.
Yes,
You,
sir.
you said he muffed it up. You used the term muffed it up. I haven't heard that in years, but
I'm an old guy. I know I look 25, but I'm really not.
we used to live in Camarillo, California. And there
I've
was a
been there.
doctor in California in Camarillo who was doing a vasectomy on one of his patients, and he severed the main artery in the testicular area and almost killed the guy.
Yeah, I
Now,
can
guess what
imagine.
his
It's killing
name?
me just telling the story.
Guess what his name was?
I have no idea.
Dr. Muff. And that's the truth. But anyway, guys, we got one more question and then we're going to
Sure.
run out of here. We did exactly an hour and a half, which is perfect. And Jim, you did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. I hope we had some fun. I know I come off as a Dutch uncle, but go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Are you personally active in your program today? And I can say, with our many conversations, I know you are. I know that you haven't picked up a property lately since our venture to Las Vegas, particularly. But yes, I've talked to you enough to know that you're doing well. Let's see. Tina Chen asks, probate court has referee to verify property value? I don't know exactly.
She's
I
from
think,
California, isn't she?
yeah, probably.
Yeah. The answer is no.
Okay, we verify our own property value and go in and make our own offers.
Well, the referee's position in California is a political position, and I won't go into it because I imagine most of the people aren't from California. It's such a good system that California is the only state that has it, but it doesn't affect us whatsoever.
Okay. Well, Jim, thank you for joining us. Thank you very, very much. And all the
All
rest.
right, well, thanks. Look forward to it. Maybe we can do lunch sometime soon.
I thought we were going to do lunch today.
Well, that's fairly soon. That's about an hour and a half from now.
Call me and tell me where we're going to have lunch. I'm suggesting the soup place.
Oh, okay. You want a salad? Okay.
No, I don't want a salad. I'm just making people think I'm healthier than I am.
All right. Well, again, thank you for everybody that's there. Thank you for sitting in on it. I hope you learned something from it. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, probate is a very good way for you to make money in real estate.
Great.
And again, for the next 90 days, those who decide to go with the course, I'm available to help them go through the course on anything they have any questions on.
And thank you guys. We'll see you all next week. And right now I'm trying to figure out, here we go. We're going to exit out of the program. I think I'm learning something here. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, not again.
Hey, Jim.
Oh, shoot. Yeah,
Hey, Jim.
I can't stop this thing. Oh.
Jim.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. Bill's exited the meeting. So we'll see you later.
Well, no, you won't. I can't get out.
Okay. Well,
I'm here again.
okay.
I got that little fuzzy ball going everywhere. Son of a gun.
Here we go.
Here we go again.